Hi, this is Dave. Welcome to this Christian Business Insights podcast show where we bring you ideas and insights to help you have a bigger impact for the kingdom in the marketplace and grow closer to God in the process. So here's a question. Are you using AI? And if so, what impact is that having on you or your business? While using AI to think for us is easy and tempting, the consequences can be staggering. One of the very real consequences of overdependence on AI is this: we lose our ability to think clearly. The early studies are in, and it indicates the more we rely on AI, the less we are able to think on our own. So this can be an issue. Before we allow AI to denigrate our thinking abilities, let's sharpen our own thinking skills. So here's three thinking errors that we all make and some corresponding solutions. Number one, emotional reactions. We react based on how we feel, the emotion of the moment, rather than on the basis of evidence. And, this is fine. This is fine for the plethora of trivial decisions that we make every day. So, for example, should you go to McDonald's or Burger King? Well, let's say the last time you went to McDonald's, you spilled your coffee in the car, and so you have negative feelings about McDonald's. So therefore, question, should you go to McDonald's or Burger King? You say, well, let's go to Burger King. Now, that's a decision based on emotion that has nothing to do with the evidence. But it's trivial, so it really doesn't matter. You spend 5 minutes on social media and you will see emotional reactions make up the overwhelming majority of posts. And that's okay because it's trivial and it won't matter to anyone other than, those few people who are involved with it. The real danger lies when we use emotional reactions to deal with weighty decisions, serious decisions, and thinking challenges. Then when we do that, we often make decisions that bring consequences because we reacted on the basis of how we felt rather than what we thought. So when you find yourself or someone that you're talking with making an emotional response to a weighty challenge or a serious decision, ask this, quote, what evidence is there for this? What evidence do you have for this? Now, this question kicks the brain into gear, and it encourages the person to think about something outside of his or her feelings. It prompts a more thoughtful response. What evidence is there for this? So that's number one. Number two, rash generalizations. Now, in this thinking flaw, we create a category. We all do this. We create a category, black, white, teenager, retirees, soccer mom, redneck, Republican, Democrat, etc., etc. And over our lifetime, we've slowly compiled a list of things, characteristics that we attribute to that category. So we could say so we could think teenagers make stupid mistakes and are often malicious and don't care about other people's property. Okay, that's something you attribute to that category. So then, instead of considering the individual circumstances, we place the person in the category or the event or whatever it is, we place it in the category and we draw upon our list of preconceived attributes. So for example, we have an encounter with a young person and we place them in the category, teenagers, and then we generalize our judgment of them based on what we think of the category. We don't deal with the person as an individual. We deal with them as a member of a preordained category. And while my example refers to people, we can make rash generalizations about things, events, ideas, etc., etc. So once again, it's easy because it requires very little thinking. But like all thinking errors, it presents us with a conclusion that is erroneous and does not take into consideration the individual circumstances. This is by the way, this is the mechanism behind racism, sexism, whatever other ism that you want to think of. It's because we do this. And the cure is simple. I mean, really, truly, you just ask this: how does this individual or this circumstance differ from the mass of things in this category? So how does this individual differ from the mass of people or circumstances in this category? How does it differ? And this, again, the question forces our mind to consider the individual aspects of the person or the situation and moves us from the general to the specific. Okay, here's number three, jumping to conclusions. Jumping to conclusions. Now, this often occurs in business circles, at least from my experience. When we see a problem or a project and we jump directly to the solution rather than the process to arrive at the solution. So we put the solution before the process. You know, in my practice, I'm often called upon to help a company revise a sales compensation plan. And I often, when I get involved, I often field solutions from the executives involved who say, well, I think we should do this, or I think we should do that. And in other words, they are jumping to the conclusion and they leap from the problem to the solution. And these are hasty solutions. They often miss the mark. They leave important issues unaddressed. And often they generate, if we were to go with them, we generate unexpected consequences. My job in that kind of situation is, instead of immediately jumping to a solution, to create the process that gets us to that solution. So instead of asking for a solution, a better approach would be to ask, how do we get to the solution? What's the process we're going to use to get from where we are to where we want to be? The answer is probably going to be a process that incorporates more information than one person's opinion. By the way, we have a whole system for doing this. We call that process a thinking path. So we're creating thinking paths for all kinds of situations, and you can get them in the XI library, which I'll mention in just a minute. So there is three common thinking errors and simple questions to ask to change the whole atmosphere around each of those errors. There's three simple little interventions that will direct a person's thinking down much more productive corridors. With just a little bit of effort, we can all think better and ward off the negative impact of AI. So if you think this this kind of thought process is valuable, then I'm going to suggest you check out the XI library. XI stands for excellence and influence. It's where I put all my stuff. And so we must have, at this point, maybe 100 short courses, thinking paths for various situations and solutions to all kinds of questions. And it's $19 a month. You get everything. Good deal. I'll put a link in the show notes and check it out. Okay, that's it. We're done. Bye-bye.